Grab number 56, guys. 56. Let's look at 56. Do we need to do all of them? This one's brutal. Okay, so let's see. Number 56, the answer was J. And the easier way to do this was not to deal with the I is negative, square root of negative 1. The easier way to deal with this was to remember that I squared is how much?
One.
Positive 1. That's the easier way to deal with this. Okay, so we just got finished taking a test on simplifying the radicals or rationalizing the denominator, right? So we need to get rid of this radical on the bottom, so we have to multiply by the conjugate. What's the conjugate? The opposite. So what would be the opposite of square root of x minus I?
X squared.
No. The conjugate.
Oh, the square root of x plus I.
Thank you. Thank you. You're restoring my faith in humanity. All right. So when you multiply these, let's go ahead and smoosh them together first. And if I multiply that, what's I times square root of x? I square root of x. And what is I times I?
1.
It is just 1, but it's I squared first, right? So let's do that first. Are y'all okay with that so far on the top? All right, so then on the bottom we have square root of x minus I and square root of x plus I. Oh my goodness, those are conjugates, so I don't have to FOIL. What's the only thing I have to do?
First and last.
First and last. So what is square root of x times square root of x? Square root of x squared. And then what is negative I times positive I?
1.
Negative I squared, which is 1. Very good. Very good. All right, so let's go through this. So this right here is positive 1. So we have I square root of x plus 1.
And the square root and the square cancel out.
Uh-huh. So it's x minus I squared is 1, which was j. Y'all okay?
It always makes so much sense when you do it.
Yeah, girls. You're like, wow.
The square root and the square. So at least you would just x. Now number 57.
I think it just throws us off where we see where I equals the square root of negative.
Then don't worry about it.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, I was thinking of this.
They gave you that to help you, and that'll work too. You could rewrite those as square roots of negative 1 if you wanted to, but for me personally, it was just easier for me to multiply and remember that I squared was 1 instead of, that was just me. Most of the time, if it's easier for me to do it that way, it's normally easier for y'all to do it that way too. All right, what about 57? Do y'all need 57? Oh yeah. Okay. 57 is a pre-cal problem. It is one of the only pre-cal problems that was on this one because there's not normally a whole lot of pre-cal. Most of this stuff is Algebra 2 and Geometry that's on the ACT, okay? So to add vectors, here's what you do. You ready? AB is this piece right here. So that's the first piece. How many spaces are you from A to B? So here we go. We're going to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right? You got it good? So which one of these has the 9 first? D and E. I know you probably didn't get this, and this was a pre-cal problem, okay? So it says to add these two. So guys, look, if you add these two, it means that you're going to take CD and you're going to put it right here at the end of it, okay, like this. You don't really have to do that, but that's what that means, okay? So in other words, you have to figure out how long CD is in order to add it together. So how long is it? It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So if I add 9 and 5, how much is that? That's 11. So which one has the 9 and the 11?
9 plus 5 is 11.
I mean,
What?
whoa, hold on. What did I just say? Whoa, wait, hold on. Hold on. Wait a minute.
Messed up A, right?
Hold on. I did mess up. I was looking at the 11. What number did I need to do? Golly. Hold on. I just had this just a second ago. I just did it this morning. This is 5.
Well, that's an error, so it goes on infinity.
Hold on. Wait. Stop. Quit talking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There, I was looking at the x's. Sorry, you need to do the y's. Excuse me. I'm sorry. So we did our x's first, right? Now let's do our y's. So how far up do we need to go from A to B? Let's see. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 and 5 is 11. I'm sorry. I said the wrong number. I jumped ahead of myself. I'm sorry. Do you want to go back over that?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. So the first one is your x's, right? So the first one is the x. So how far over did I go from A to B? And I went 9 places, right? Does that make sense? All right. This one, CD, is the one you're going to add last, right? So this one is vertical. That means that this one is going to be my y's. Okay. So CD is 5. And then from A to B, how high up did A to B go? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 and 5 is the 11. Does that make sense? Okay. I kind of jumped ahead of myself. I know I probably confused you. All right, what about 58? You need 58? 58 was J.
What's a pendulum?
A pendulum is like when you have a string and you swing it back and forth. All right, so the answer was J, and it was actually... Like, this problem took me 5 minutes to just wrap my head around. But then once I wrapped my head around it, I was like, oh my gosh, that was so easy. Okay, so what it wants you to find, once you get past all the, 1,000 of words, right? All it wants you to find is the length of the string. Well, what letter was the length of the string? The L. Does that make sense so far? It's under the square root, guys. What number do I take the square root of that would end up being 3 times all of this? So what number did I square root that gives me 3? 9. So if I put in L right here is 9, right? What's the square root of 9? 3. Whoa. Let me finish. If I put in 9, the square root of 9 is 3. It wanted to know what length of the L would triple the whole thing. Triple means I'm going to multiply by what number? 3. Once you figure that out, it was very, very easy. But it literally took me 5 minutes to figure out what the heck it was asking, first of all. Matthew, what's wrong? You mean to read that to you? Okay. A simple pendulum consists of a small mass suspended from a string that is fixed at its upper end and has negligible mass. In other words, you've got a string like this. You ready? And at the bottom of it, it's got like something that's weighting it down, right? And if I start swinging it, what's it going to do? It's going to swing back and forth, back and forth. That's all that says. Does that make sense? Okay. Then the length of time, or T, which is right here in the front, for a complete swing of a simple pendulum can be modeled by the equation, that mess right there. 2 pi square root of L over 32. L is the length of the string. If the time required for a complete swing of pendulum 1 is triple means times 3, right? Then the time required for the swing of pendulum 2, they want to know how many times the length of did I read that right? Yeah, how many times is the length of the pendulum string 2? So in other words, what could I plug into L so that when I square root it, it would be 3? Because I have to have this as 3 times all of that. So what number could I square root to give you 3? And that's 9.
Okay.
Once you get past all the craziness of the question,
Why did it say pendulum 1 string and pendulum 2?
because it says pendulum 1, they want to know how much bigger does pendulum 1 have to be? How much longer does it have to be? To be 3 times, to be triple the amount of the other pendulum.
Okay.
So in other words, you've got 2 strings, and it wants to know how much longer does the first string have to be to make it 3 times the length. I know it's a crazy question. kind of simple once you get past what the question was saying. But you got to get past what the question was saying first. All right, let's look at 50. What are we on? 59? Do we need to go over 59? We just finished taking tests on
Is it
this.
D?
It is not D, no.
So yes.
We need to go over this. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you go from two different logarithms to one logarithm together, right? And what did it do to that x and that y in that logarithm together?
It's multiplied.
It's multiplication. And ladies and gentlemen, we just talked about 3 properties of logarithms. And when you multiply, how could you split them back apart?
Divided.
By adding, right, Grace? Multiply the bases, add the exponents. So which 2 are the only 2 that have addition?
See, I thought
A
it
and
was the
B.
other way around. I thought since
No. It's taking 2 different logarithms, putting them as one. So in other words, it's basically saying this. And that's equal to the xy. Because you got to multiply those together, right? Does that make sense? I'm not done yet.
what was it asking?
What is, when I multiply these together, what's that squared? So it's wanting you to go backwards. It's just wanting you to go backwards. So you have to remember that multiplication means that you're going to add them, which is how I narrowed down to 2 answer choices so far, right? Now you want to have it squared. So squared means that it's an exponent. When I rewrite that exponent, where did that exponent go? In the front. So which one has the 2 in the front? A. Y'all okay? That one should have been pretty easy. We just took a test on that Friday. Ooh, but you had to go backwards.
Maybe there are numbers in the actual
You can put numbers in if you want to.
number.
All right, what about 60? Number 60, it got me. And then I looked at the answers and I was like, dag nabbit, I should have known that.
Is it D?
It is not G, because that's what I put at first. And then I felt so dumb once I looked at the answer and I was like, oh crap, I should have known that. So, do we need to go over how we got 32 instead of 30?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how much did it grow by, or did it increase by to begin with? 10%. Then the next year, it grew another 10%, right? So, what is 10% of 20? So, it grew 30% and 2 more percent, which is
Where
32.
did you get this one? No, I know.
How do you know to multiply 10% by 20?
Because it gave you 10%, like, it grew another 10%. It started growing 10%, then it grew another 10%. That's why I knew to multiply by the 10%.
So it's like 2.
So it's the 30% altogether. It grew 10 and 20, which is 30% altogether. But then it had to do 2 more because it grew another 10%. I know, like, I felt so dumb when I looked at that answer.
But it didn't look like I was
Jennifer's
wrong.
best. Okay, so let's say her long jump was 2 feet.
It's not going to give you something like that. It's going to give you easy numbers.
She's not an easy number.
10% is an easy number.
No, I'm saying like, let's say Jennifer's best long jump was 2 feet, and it increased by 10%.
2 feet doesn't give you anything like that. That completely changes the problem.
Oh, Lord.
That's why I'm trying to wrap my hand.
My hand.
My hand.
Okay, let's think about this. Let's say that it increased by 20% to start with, right? Instead of 10%. And then it increased by 40% the second time. What would you multiply then? By 0.2, 20%, right?
Oh, Lordy, my head hurts.
Yeah.
0%, Matthew.
Okay, so 20 times 10, the 20. Wait, what did you do? Was it 20 times 0.10?
Times, because 10% is 0.10 or 0.1.
Okay, so why didn't you, if it increased? But it said by 20% the second time. So why wouldn't it be 10 plus 20?
Okay, where did it start at the first year? The first year it was already at 10%.
The first year it increased by 10%.
Why are you getting so defensive?
No,
Like he is like on it, buddy.
I should email ACT about it. So it has to start out at something,
Yes,
okay? And then it increased by 10%.
yes. So how would you find 10%? You would multiply it by what?
Point 10.
Point 10.
But why
But
would you multiply it by the 20% that you're adding later?
are you done? Can I tell you? Let's say that we start with 5, okay? Okay, we got 5, right? Let's do some numbers. Let's say that we start with 5. And it increased by 10%. So what would you do?
Times 10.
Times 0.10, right? Then the next year, it does what?
It's going to increase by 20.
No. It already increased by 10. It increased another 10. What's 10 and 10 give you?
Wait.
No.
Did you say? That made my head.
Stop. By 20%. Okay, look, Matthew, it already increased 10%, right? The next year, it increased
So you're saying it's
by
Yeah, I
20%.
thought it meant another 20.
Yeah, but the date's like
whoa.
Like on top of.
like it says.
So you're saying it's 20% of the whole?
Okay, 3 people cannot speak at one time. One at a time. Matthew.
So it said 10% from 1990 to 91.
Yes?
Okay, and then it went 20% from 91 to 92.
Mm-hmm.
So like I took that as two different years.
Yeah, me too.
It is 2 different years.
This doesn't make any sense.
Let me just take that out.
So we're going to go to the next problem because this is ACT prep, which means I don't have to cover this, which means if you have something that you have a question on, when should you come see me? 0 period. Because right now what we have to cover is section 8.1, and we started that yesterday. You're going to finish it today on page 2. And if you have ACT questions, you just need to come see me 0 period, and I will explain it 20,000 different ways to you during 0 period then. But right now in class, we cannot take any more time on that. Tomorrow, we're going to start back on another ACT practice test, right? So we're going to start all back over, starting with the easy questions first. What's the best strategy for the ACT on the first 30 questions? In 23 minutes. 23 minutes. Ooh, if you can do it 21, that'd be even better, though.
No.
Well, I gave you an extra 2 minutes. So let's look at your calendar and let's remember a few things real quick. So yesterday we did a checkpoint. And what is happening tomorrow? Project is due if you haven't already turned it in. I'm going to start grading projects tonight and start handing them back to you tomorrow for those of you that already turned them in. What is happening on March 8th?
You're having a nice time.
That's our final test. Your project is your 5th test. Your final test for the quarter, yes, ladies and gentlemen, for the quarter is March 8th. And the quarter ends on March 9th. We only have about 3 weeks left, and then the quarter is over, okay? So here we go. We're going to do 8.1 for about another 10 more minutes. Then we're going to do 3 problems on 8.2. Then the rest of the time you get to work on your rough drafts, show me your rough drafts for your project, and then that'll be the class period, okay? Everybody good? All right.
Wait, I thought you just said that our test was March 10th.
March 8th. And teacher work day is March 10th. That's when the end of the quarter is.
So that's our next test.
That's our last and final test, yes.
So we don't have a test before then?
No, it's going to take us the whole time to get chapter 8 done.